This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. On today's episode, it's just Ben and I. Sorry, there's no guest for you. But we wanted to get on here and talk about kind of a recap. We have talked about doing it in the past and like recapping every episode, and maybe in the future putting it on like a Patreon or something, so we can do like a post interview or like a post fight or post game analysis, just about what we learned and what we thought was cool about it. But we're trying this new format out to just kind of recap the last 4 or 5 episodes and something that we thought was cool about it or something we learned from it.
So yeah, or stood out or something like that.
And so this is our first
that's what I'm looking at right now.
Go at it.
So we have the last few guests we've had. Dude, there's been so many cool ones and different stories and stuff. But we had Rafael, who is a former MMA fighter, fireman, and now an attorney. We had Marcos, who started Fight Hub TV. We had Yasmin, which is a story that was really incredible. She's a jiu-jitsu black belt, Muay Thai fighter. She's just an all-around rock star. Then we had Jordan Hansen, a pastor here in Orange County. Then we had Bryant, who's been on before. He was talking about fighting and what he went through and stuff like that, which is really cool. And then we had Todd Norman, who you've known for a while. I just met him. But it would just be really cool for us to literally just anything that stood out to you. Like, I know obviously you and I talk about all the episodes, and it's cool when you get people that come up to you and talk about an episode. So if I'm just gonna go ahead and take like a quick bulletproof thing of everything that stood out to me, and I'm using like the names to like trigger memories. Yeah. But I know with Rafael, I thought it was really awesome that he's gone through 3 different like big careers, I guess you could say, in one half of a lifetime. Like that was mind blowing to me. And again, you knew him, I didn't know him, so just like listening to that, I was like, dang, dude, you pro fighter, obviously world level wrestler, a firefighter, Fireman. And then now you're an attorney. Like those are just drastically different genres of things. And so that was like a cool story for me to hear, because it's like, what the heck, dude? How do you do so many different things at that caliber and you're in your 40s? It's like, what the heck?
Well, and those are things that people go to like school for years.
And have 20-year, 30-year careers in doing that. And then like another one for me was obviously you and I have talked about this episode a lot, but Yasmin's was insane.
Probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, I straight up almost cried.
I think you did.
I for sure got choked out.
For sure.
But I had to choke him back, because I'm a man. So, but for her episode, man, if you guys haven't listened to that one, like go back and listen to it. I think it's one of those things where, I got so emotional because I was thinking of my kids, my daughter in particular, and I just was listening to what she was going through, and I'm like, dude, I couldn't imagine my daughter having to go through that, like all the struggles and the obstacles and the doubts and, everything she's gone through at such a young age. I mean, she's still young. So to like just see what she went through and to see where she's at now. And I love that she said at one point, don't quote me, but she said something about like, well, I'm still not living the American dream. Like I'm still having to hustle and work hard and, still do all that. But obviously where she's at now compared to where she was, can't even compare.
I think even for her to have grace, because one of the things that stood out to me was, yes, all those things, but then also when she was like the fact that her mom wasn't very loving, and she was okay with that because she was like, oh, it's just the way she grew up.
Yeah.
And like her showing even her own mom grace in that, I was like, I mean, it's very mature for someone her age. Like, that's all she knew. That's how she grew up. And so, like, I can't fault her for that. I was like, oh, man, that is crazy, because I'm so immature where I'd be like, you're a jerk. Like, no, you're supposed to love me. And that was really neat to see. And then another thing I want to touch on, too, is, like, us recapping these episodes. Like, I realize that I have to, like, enhance my vocabulary. Like, I always say, oh, that's neat. That's unique. That's cool. I'm like, oh, I gotta read the dictionary or something.
Well, going into like the next episode with Jordan, Jordan used so many big words. He always does. I'm just like, what does that word mean?
At least he explained them, though. He was like, oh.
Well, there's times where like you'll be talking to him, or I'll hear him preach or something like that, and he'll use a word, and I'm like, dang, I feel so dumb. But at the same time, I think I know what he's talking about because the context he's using it. But that guy's got a vocabulary, but he's read more books than I will probably ever even think about reading. So.
Yeah, I selfishly wanted more time on that episode, but I know you guys had somewhere to be, and
we're busy men, dude.
Stuff,
busy people.
I was like, no, we need more.
But for Jordan's episode, I think it was a really cool perspective, because people look at pastors or religious, figures, and they always think like that they got it made, right? Or that they have everything figured out, right? Because if we have problems, that's who you go to.
Yeah.
So they got it all figured out. But I think I know it sounds so easy to say out loud, but the thing that is just like crazy to me is like they are human beings, men or women, that go through the same things we go through, have the same issues, the same doubts, the same fears, the same struggles, the same obstacles that we do. But to essentially, for lack of better terms, idolize them as if they are, invincible and, have all the answers is so wrong. And we've been so conditioned in the world today to look at, leaders in general and to be like, oh man, yeah, they got it all figured out. And of course, if they do something, God forbid, that somebody doesn't like, let's put them on blast.
Just imagine the weight they have to feel carrying that all the time,
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Like, he's a human.
Like, it's not cool. No. But I think it's rad that he opened up about, like, going to therapy.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But it's cool, especially as a guy, like a guy pastor. Like, oh, bro, you should be super close to God. Like, you should have all things figured out. But it's cool that even he opened up and was able to look at things from a different perspective. And I think now it gives him just another lens, and he can add that, I guess, to his tool belt and be like, hey, look, like, I'm going through this. This is how I was taught or how I was guided, and now I can help you in that in a similar way.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's why, like, all these different stories and the different guests that we have on, it's always it's awesome, it's interesting, it's cool, it's humbling, it's sometimes you feel like you're like, dang, I can't complain. Like, I just spent 30 minutes complaining to you before we started this episode about my last couple of days, and then I think about some of the guests that I've been on, and I'm like, it just really helps, like, us as the host, or at least for myself. I love listening to people's stories because we all have one, right? Whether they're cool, whether they're not cool, whether they're boring, whether they're not boring, whether they're action-packed and lots of, drama and things that they've had to go through. Those are just unique to each individual. Everyone's story is different, and everyone has a story to tell. So going through this process with you and the guests that we've had on has just been so cool, man, because it really puts into perspective so many different things. And we say it all the time, but like, if one person can get something out of any of these stories, like, that's huge, right? Like,
but it's cool because it's also like, hopefully people that are listening, if they're going through something similar, or if they've been through something similar, they feel like they're not alone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's someone else has gone through something similar, and it's really cool to me that and I always say it's therapeutic for me to listen to these stories and have these guests, but it's even cooler, I guess, that they're all at different parts of their journey. Like, some, obviously they're all still going through it and still doing life, but like, some people are just starting out. Like, Yasmin is essentially just starting out her MMA career. She's transitioning from jiu-jitsu, being at the highest level, winning worlds, being a black belt with AOJ, and now transitioning to being a professional fighter at 23, 24 years old. Todd Norman, who we just had on, has been extremely successful coaching the Anaheim Ducks, being the strength and conditioning coach for like Mark Sanchez, who's a retired NFL player, Mark Munoz, who's a UFC fighter,
So
Anderson Silva, like all these different types of guys. And he's still going through that journey of being an entrepreneur and going through that process of being a business owner and still doing strength and conditioning and still finding ways to coach younger athletes and still finding ways to be motivated and things that excite him. Because I think with his journey specifically, like after his brother passing, like it would have been super easy for a lot of people to be like, I'm going to not be focused anymore. I'm going to go hang out with my friends. I'm going to live life to the fullest. I'm going to go party. I'm going to go experiment. I'm going to do whatever. And he was like, no, I want to, like he had mentioned something about making sure that his life was worth living, like living a life that his brother would be proud of.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that I don't know if I'm
So
that
that's powerful,
motivated
yeah.
now.
When he also said the same thing about essentially proving everyone wrong in the sense of the ones that thought he would never be anything.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, the ones that supported him, he wanted to show them, hey, I was worth it. I am worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that is so powerful, of just knowing yourself, like knowing that your own worth, your own self-worth, and what you have to offer as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
That's something every one of these guests have, whether they think it or not, right? Like
Yeah.
all of them that we've had on, especially the last few that we're recapping, they all have a distinct ability to be great at something, and knowing that they have their own self-worth in that is something that every one of those guests share, whether they think it themselves or not. I mean, just by looking at what they choose to do, whether you're a pastor, a business owner, a professional athlete,
Yeah.
you have a version of yourself inside of you that is just a little like deeper, a little bit more motivation, a little harder to do than your normal stuff
Joe.
that you do. And so if any of them listen to this, like remember, like just that in itself, that you have so much self-worth in that. And it's something that's just, I don't know if I would have really even probably talked about it until we had a platform like this, because I'm not like one of those mindset feel good people. I understand it. I'm starting to get a little bit more like on board with it.
Yeah.
But it's so true. We're like, if any of those guests that shared any of those stories didn't have some form of like accountability to themselves, their own self, like they wouldn't be where they're at. And that's something that's powerful,
Well, I mean, just to be super transparent or like candid, like we get a lot of our guests either by text or even sometimes social media.
Yeah.
And so like I was texting Raphael and I was like, hey, bro, I'd love to have you on. And he's like, why? He's like, I have no name. Like, I'm no good to you. He's like, I'm an attorney now. I go, yeah, but you've done things as a professional athlete and have been able to, like you said, pick different career paths. Like, you have done something, and someone needs to listen to this so that if they're going through some BS, like they know that they can dig themselves out with the right support system or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you have done something that a lot of people can't say that they've done.
For sure.
Not only being a fireman, but like stepping in the cage and then having that not go how you would want it to go or end how you'd want it to end, and then being like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to go be an attorney.
Yeah.
Like that in itself is motivating, and you have to have self accountability and be self motivated to be able to transition to these other fields and these other things. Like that's the part that scares me as an entrepreneur, is always like pivoting. Like, oh man, what if I go too far left or too far right? Like it's not within my wheelhouse to offer these services or do these things, but it's like, why not? You know, I think someone like you is just probably bred different, where it's very much like me, like where you make a choice. Like some people need to watch motivational speeches every day, or like these videos every day to like hype them up. Like, I know why I get up every morning. Do I want to get up every morning? No. Do I want to go to the gym every day like I have been for the last 2 weeks? No. But then I look at myself on these shows and I'm like, bro, you're fat. Like, you need to get in there. Like, yesterday, I did not want to go. It was like 6:30. My son's like tired from rugby practice and he's like, Dad, are we going? I was like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean, are we going? No, I don't want to go. But then I was like, those moments, one, is a cool time to like show my son, like, look, even if you're tired, like, you still go out and do something because you set a goal. Two, I get to hang out with my son and get to spend time with him and like work out and like motivate each other, and like it's cool that he gets to see his dad do that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
You know, and so that to me is special. And then I get to conversate with him on the way there, on the way back. It's neat. Those are cool little moments in time that you just won't ever get back.
Yeah.
You know, and so talking about our guests, it's like, yeah, you're right. They all have something special. Not saying that everybody else doesn't. I'm just saying the people we've been fortunate enough to have that are willing to share their story and willing to open up is cool. Like, one thing that stood out in Brian's episode, and we talked about it a little bit, but the one thing that I like that you said was like, it's cool when people are willing to be real.
Yeah.
Like, they're willing to come on and be honest and be real, because a lot of people don't. Like, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and they were talking about how they used to have actors on their show, and they're like, we completely stopped because actors feel like they need to have this certain image or persona, and they have to protect it at all times, no matter what they're doing. Like, they could be doing an interview, having coffee with their friends, but because they know paparazzi's around, they got to dress a certain way, they got to talk a certain way. They're not being themselves. And I think the more real and honest that you get, like, people can relate to that. You know, like, we don't have the coolest technology, the best cameras, the best lights. Like, we'll get there someday, but I want this to be a platform for not only us to be able to learn, but for the guests to feel comfortable enough to be real, to open up, to share their story. Because in turn, like, my heart has always been for it to have the listeners gain something from it. Why does it matter if you and I get to hear it all the time? Like, we get to hear these cool stories and have cool guests.
Yeah.
If our audience or our supporters aren't getting anything from it either.
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure. And that's been something cool too, dude, is like, even though we're still learning and we're growing, and, you know, it's a constant evolution of just give and take. It walking around like in one of like the shops or something like that and having people be like, dude, that episode was really good. Or, hey, why didn't you guys post this week? You know, like knowing that. And like I said, it's, you know, we don't have millions of listeners, you know, but the fact that we're building an audience and we're growing and it continues to grow, it's rad. It's like those little things where you're like, you just said it, but when, you know, after Yasmin's episode, I group texted us a couple times to show her, because I wanted her to see like, hey, like, your story's like impacting people. Yeah. I texted her like last week, another one. Still a week ago, I got someone randomly texted me that I haven't talked to in a while and was like, dude, that girl's story was insane. Like, so like inspiring. And I like screenshot it and I sent it to her. And it's, you know, that her episode was like a month ago now. And so just to like have those things still happen, you know, those are the things that I'm like, dang, this is cool. These are the things we want to keep doing. And, you know, just keep getting cool guests and not cool guests, because I'm not cool, so it doesn't matter. But I just want to reiterate real quick is like every person does have a story, right? Like, we can, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, so anyone listening, don't freaking take this the wrong way, but like, we could go outside and grab any of these homeless dudes that are literally right outside this window right now, and like have them come in here and be like, dude, how did you get here? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but genuinely, how did you get here? Yeah. Is it mental health? Is it you, unfortunately, you know, you don't have family, you don't have friends, you were a veteran and now are going through your own stuff. Like, how did you get here? And, you know, maybe there's a way we could help you figure little steps out to get back to where you want to go. Or if you don't want to get anywhere and you want to stay where you're at, great, you know. But it's thinking in that way where a lot of people wouldn't go and have a homeless person off the street as a guest. Yeah. Right? Because they're homeless. I'm down. Like, But it's just like that perception of, I don't want us to ever lose sight of that. Like, it doesn't matter if you, like what you said, I said all this because you said Raphael was like, oh, I don't have a name. Who freaking cares?
Yeah.
Like, you're an individual, you're a human being with something to say. I mean, I feel like almost every person has something that they would like to say.
For sure, especially now.
You know, like whether it's to one person that they encountered in their past or to somebody that they are directly just speaking to, in the sense of, I get what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like, who cares about the name? Like, I don't care, you know, like, I don't care if you're not famous. I don't care if you have 1 million Instagram followers. I could freaking care less, personally. Like, obviously, I want our platform to grow, because if it doesn't, then these stories, like you said, don't matter in the sense of, like,
they won't get
people
heard.
hearing it. Like, I want us to selfishly grow so people hear it. Not so I can hear my own, like, 13-year-old girl voice on the radio, but more so we could share, you know, these stories. And that just hit me, like, that you said that he's like, I don't have a name.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably think that way, was because people don't realize that. Even, you know, I know our show is mainly about athletes and entrepreneurs, but one of the reasons I started it was because I've done both, and there's a correlation between both.
Yeah.
And so, and other than, like, fear of failure and overcoming obstacles and all that stuff, I think self-doubt has a lot to do with both.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of times where you're like, man, I don't know if I could do this. Like, just so people know, like, Ben took me on, and I'm doing some work for you, and I was like, oh man, like, I'm gonna mess this up. Like, I'm gonna mess up our relationship because I'm not gonna get results. And, like, then you start doubting yourself, like, am I really good at this? Can I really do this? And you're just like, man, like, I don't want to mess this up, because I don't ever want business to get in the way of friendship.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why for the longest time I never offered, like, my services of digital marketing to people that I knew, because it's like, if I mess up or we get in an argument, like, it's going to ruin our friendship. So I'm not going to offer these services.
That's also why people are just too soft, though. We've said it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I could care less about, unless you steal from me, hurt me, or someone I love, who cares, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you can't get me the results that you thought you could, who cares? I mean, obviously you want to, in the sense that you want.
Still,
yeah,
I
but
want to,
in
for sure.
the way I operate is like, I get it, dude. At the end of the day, like, yeah, I can guarantee you, I know how to do this. But sometimes it just, for whatever reason, X, Y, and Z, the results aren't what you want them, and who cares, you know? Like, let the business be gone and just continue your relationship. And a lot of people can't do that. And it's because I say it all the time. We should make a shirt that says, "You're soft."
I'm down. Like, big letters.
Seriously. "You're soft." Get
No,
hard.
just that. You're soft. Let's do it.
Oh, man.
We got our boy Dan.
I know.
Like, we got to have him design just
Dan,
like in big block
Make
letters.
something without me
So like, you're soft.
texting you, and just surprise me one day and do it.
But it's true. Well, it's like I was saying in Brian's episode. I just listened to it, and, like, yeah, people can't hold, like, a healthy argument.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm left, you're right, we're not going to agree. Like, no, there has to be some sort of middle ground, and being like, look, you think this way because of how you grew up, and this is how you are. We're bred to think, and this is why you think these things.
Yeah.
I grew up this way. Cool. Well, let's talk. There's a disagreement. That's fine. It's okay to disagree. Like, we still haven't even figured out. We've been wanting to update this damn studio for the longest time, and we're like, should we get a table? Should we get a couch? Where should we sit? Where do the cameras go? And it's like, it's okay to disagree. I might like one thing, but you might like another. So it's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. Let's figure out what's best for the show.
I like things pretty plain.
I care too much about the camera and all that stuff.
Yes, you do.
Like, we were watching episodes, and you're like, bro, you need to stop. Just leave it where it's at. Like,
Literally
you do it all
20
the time.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
I was like, just leave it.
I just think it's because I get so obsessive, and I want to, like, do it and do it right.
Yeah.
Like, I hate, as dumb as this sounds, like, I hate the process. I hate, like, messing up so much.
Yeah, but the process is what makes it.
No,
awesome.
but I like it at the same time. I like the end result of going through that, like, through those growing pains. That's why I like that we're building the channel now, because it's like we just landed. Part of why Todd's episode has so many views is, like, we landed on the YouTube suggested videos list.
Which we don't know how that happened. So if
Yeah,
anyone
I'm trying to
knows,
figure it out.
tell us.
Yeah,
'cause
help us.
That's a trip.
And so I'm like, okay, I was looking before you got here. I was like looking at the analytics and like, all right, did I use like a keyword? Did I label it this way? And I just want to make sure we do it right so we can repeat it.
Yeah.
And so once this is set up, what's cool about it is like once the cameras are set up, like they're set up. And I know we're supposed to recap about the episodes until I move it again.
Yeah.
But, and then just so you guys not feel like we need to be more transparent, that we control the cameras on our phones. And so if you ever find us looking at our phone, we're not like ignoring each other or ignoring the guest. We're literally seeing how much time we have to press record again. And so, because I watched Marcos's episode and I did it like 2 or 3 times where I was like looking. He was in the middle of talking and then I'm like looking down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, the recaps, the people we've had, we're going to continue to have awesome guests in all forms, all walks of life. Obviously entrepreneurs and athletes particularly, but I know it's a tagline that's used so many times, but I feel like our podcast it's specifically those individuals, but it's just like it's real people, real stories, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a caption that's used so much in so many different things. In commercials, you'll see like a Aflac commercial or something. They're like real people, real stories, and you're like, bro, those are freaking paid actors.
Those are actors.
But my dude, it's been real.
Yeah,
we'll
sure.
Yeah, we're gonna
just
keep surprising you guys with some guests.
Yeah, tomorrow we have some cool things in the works with guests, and then our website is up. So if you guys want to go to thefightwithinpodcast.com or tfwpod.com, both of those domains redirect to our website. We're still working on it. We're working on some new designs. We're working on making sure that it gets printed properly, and then we also order some samples, so we'll have some sort of funny photo shoot, so we can actually have ourselves on there.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, I don't know. I might throw my son or something on there instead of me.
Nah,
He's
dude,
way better
just
looking.
get on there and start flexing.
Yeah, right.
Boom.
But yeah, go check out the website. Let us know what you think. Talk crap, like it. I don't care. And just thank you guys. I don't think we say it enough, but the people that have listened to us and the people that continue to support us that aren't directly part of our families, thank you guys for the support and the growth. Like I literally look at analytics at least once a week, and so I see where you guys are coming from. We just had some listeners in like Germany and China. I don't know if they're trying to like hack us, but we definitely see the support. We appreciate it. We like it. So unless you got anything else to say,
I gotta go pee.
We're good. And thank you guys again. And remember that everything was impossible until someone did it. So guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/thefightwithinpodcast. Find us on all audio platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you guys like to listen to it. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for continuing to listen to it and watch it. We can see the growth on our analytics, and just want to thank you guys for supporting us.